absolutely wonderful to see you all here today. Anybody that was here for the Hobbits last night? Nice to see you again. Are you excited about this next panel? All right, when I introduce our next guest, I want you to scream, shout and cheer and not stop until he sits down. Can we do that? All right, give on up for the incredible Orlando Bloom!
That's a big room.
I feel like
how's everybody doing? Nice to see you all. How's Fan Expo going? Are we enjoying?
Importantly, how are you, my friend? You all right?
Yeah, I'm great.
Have you been to Philadelphia before?
You know, I haven't, and I do love this city. I mean, just from my experience of just coming to and from, I'd love to spend a bit more time here. So many great movies from this town. Right?
Yes.
Really great movies.
I said this last night to the Hobbits, I did the Rocky steps yesterday. I did not run, because I'm very middle-aged. I walked up the steps, and I said this last night, guess who was waiting at the top of the steps? Mr. T.
Was he there?
He was
Oh, I heard he was going, yeah. That's crazy. Actually, that was a seminal movie for me, Rocky. One of my favorites. What a great movie.
Heck yeah.
Unbelievably cool movie, yeah.
Oh my gosh. But this is a great time, so we're happy to have you here.
For having me, guys.
You guys are happy? So I was on the stage last night with the boys. We were celebrating the 25th anniversary of the Fellowship. I know the eyes get wide when you say that. 25th anniversary of the...
It's weird because it feels both like a lifetime ago and yesterday. I don't know how time works, but in my mind it's like, wow.
Time is a construct, my friend. And life has no meaning.
And the aliens are here.
Now,
they're only in the room tonight.
I was at university at the time, skipping classes, I said last time, to go see the film. Where were you in your life and times before you took this role? Back 25 years.
Oh,
How are you feeling
I was
back
at drama
then?
school.
Yeah. You were already auditioning, right? You were already doing stuff.
Yeah, well, I'd moved to London when I was 16, and I'd done some amateur dramatics and things like the National Youth Theatre, and I'd gotten an agent from a play I'd done in London, just an off-Broadway, kind of off the West End kind of play, I guess, and they had promised to put me out for work and things, and I had auditioned for drama school, and I was like, no, I really need this training. I felt like I really needed, I think, an education that I would probably really enjoy in a way that maybe other aspects of education hadn't been so pleasurable for me growing up. And so I did go out on a couple of jobs, and actually the Hubbards, who cast Lord of the Rings, were maybe one of my very first meetings in London. They were casting agents, and Roz was super, super wonderful and encouraging in that meeting. And then, so I did a little bit of work before I went to drama school. I did an episode of Casualty, which is like, woo! Just the one, woo! It's like England's version of ER, if you can call it that, but
in a sense,
right? And then I had a sort of walk-on part in a film called Wild with Jude Law and Stephen Fry, and then I actually did that on a weekend while I was at drama school. So it came out while I was at drama school, which was kind of cool. I remember one of the students coming up to me going, "Were you in that movie?" I was like, "I kind of was."
What an exciting time for
It was cool though, yeah. But I definitely went into drama school keen and ready to learn and grateful for the experience. But I had an agent, which was, I guess, kind of put me a little bit ahead of people in some ways, because a lot of kids in the UK, if they, especially at that time, if you want to be an actor, the path to becoming an actor was amateur dramatics and then drama school and then maybe some theatre or maybe TV or movies. But
I mean, people like Colin Farrell, I think, he did like a really like popular British TV show, and he kind of cut his teeth or learnt his craft on the show, which is also, you know, kind of a good way to go.
Valid.
A lot of very valid. A lot of my peers, you know, in America grew up on the Disney channels and all those things. So I think they were all very comfortable on movie sets right out the gate. But I was like, I remember I was at drama school learning and everything, and when I got, you know, I was pulled out because I had an agent for kind of important, or at least castings that were like for really cool things. So I met on Baz Luhrmann's movie Moulin Rouge, and I had like I think I had like a handful of meetings before because there was a kind of discussion about whether they were going to go with like unknowns, and then of course they went with Nicole Kidman and Ewan McGregor, and he'd actually been to my school, so that was cool. But
so you're already flexing these muscles.
I mean, like the muscle of auditioning is like a really challenging one for a lot of young actors. It's intimidating, you know. I think the blessing was that as I was at drama school, I was just really focused on that, and the part of auditioning was like a kind of learning curve. I was just like, well, I'm not expecting to do anything, I'm at school anyway. So when I met on Lord of the Rings, where the Hubbards brought me in, I first read for Faramir, and that was cool, and I was like, okay. And I'm dyslexic. I don't know if anyone else is here, but there's a real gift to dyslexia. It means, yeah, you think differently and you prep hardcore. So like I was really overly prepared every time I went into any of my meetings. Like I learned all my lines, which is not something all actors do. I think some people read from the page depending on their confidence, but I was always like really prepared. So I met on Faramir, and then they asked me to come back and read for Legolas, which was like, okay, yeah, and I was like, okay, and I read on tape for that, and then I didn't hear anything for like, I feel like it was maybe 6 or 8 weeks, because the next thing that happened was that Peter and Fran both flew over from New Zealand to take in-person meetings with the actors, and so I was called in for that, and that was cool. And I sat down with them in this very it was like an old chapel or something just off Goode Street, off Tottenham Court Road, so it felt kind of appropriate as a place to be meeting. And then yeah, you know, I was like finishing drama school, and I'd had some calls to go on things like, I think the RSA had reached out. They were like, oh, maybe had shown some interest, and I was saying to my agent, well, let's go. What are we waiting for? And she said, well, we've got something, we're just waiting. And I was like, it didn't even occur to me. I had no idea what she was talking about. I was like, okay. So I waited, and then like literally, this was like, thank you all of my blessings. And I just had that call, which was like, okay, and she actually waited, my agent waited for like a long time, like I'd say weeks, before telling me for sure, because there'd been a bit of back and forth on casting and stuff. So when it was really, really confirmed, I got this call, and it was like, you're gonna play Legolas in Lord of the Rings. And I was like, wait, what? I mean, I'm not like, that sounds really casual. I literally freaked out, jumped up and down, called her 3 times in the same day, and then every day that week to check. Wait, really?
Who's the first person you called out, your friends and family?
That's a really good question.
Because I'm wondering who your go-to is. Is it your one of your parents? Like us?
God, I've never been asked that question. One of my best friends still to this day lives in the UK, and I probably called him and then all my family, but yeah, probably him first. But it was like, I was at drama school, and one of my friends at drama school was like, that's gonna be the craziest rise to notoriety of anyone, because those movies. And I didn't really know, I don't think anybody, I mean, I knew the books, and everyone was excited about what the prospects were, but I don't think anyone really knew what was happening, or, you know, it was kind of like a big student film in some ways, you know, the way that movie was made, which was...
And all of a sudden, you're on the way there, on the plane with Billy, and you're toasting to his birthday, is that correct?
Yeah.
Was that the first time that you met
Billy
him?
came up to me in the airport and he goes, "You look like an elf." And I was like, "I do?" And then... and it was his birthday, and so we sat in the lounge. First time I'd ever traveled business class, and so there was a lounge. And I think we opened one of those mini bottles of champagne and toasted to his birthday. And yeah, the rest was like history. I think me and Bill might have been the first cast to arrive in New Zealand, which was nice. And we were there I was there for at least 3 months prior to filming, which feels like a long time when you say it now, but at the time it was just wonderful, because first of all I had a house and it had an electric garage, which was so cool. I was like, they gave me a car and I had a house and I had pocket money, like per diem, and I was like driving in and out of my house, and I was
Must have felt like a proper adult.
So grown up. And then I was like, you know, learning to horse ride, which involved riding multiple different horses. One of the things they say when you're learning to ride a horse is you want to be a rider and not a passenger. So I literally rode 50 different horses or something. It was crazy. And then, you know, obviously archery and movement training. The movement was super important for the elves, and I really didn't want Legolas to be like, I don't know, like some of the other elves that you might have thought of, like a more stoic kind of warrior elf, thinking, you know, he's from Mirkwood, they're like, you know, like...
Still have the moves, Orlando? Do you still are you still nimble-footed?
Oh, man. But it remains, I mean, I don't know how many of you here today got to see some of the Hobbits and me together, but it was like really cool just recounting, like, we used to surf at this, we would take a weekend and go and surf at this place called Castle Point, and I was like, we should go back, we should do a boys trip and go back and retrace our steps. It was a magical time.
What was your first impression? Because I've spoken to them a million times at this point, and they've got like this sort of brotherhood going.
Yeah, they're
Do
great.
you feel part of that too? And
No, they hate me. They all hate me.
last time we spoke, you said they're always having a laugh. And they're always.
I was the butt of just about every joke going.
No.
I mean, at times, I think, like especially in the press, like Dom, and they would just like, and Billy, I mean, they would just be like, oh, well, the elf was always brushing his hair, or, you know. And also, I never got a cut, you know, like the whole thing is he's this, like, you know, insanely good warrior and doesn't get into a scratch. So Vigo was always mad at that as well. It's like, how did you not get a scratch?
But did you give it back to them as well? Did you ever?
I don't know that I was very good at that. I'm not very good at it. I'm not the best, but I'm getting better at it.
You should.
No, but it's great to see them all, you know, like, yeah, I did mention that today. I was like, it'd be cool to all kind of retrace our steps at some point. But everybody's got lives and kids and careers and things going on now. But it was, yeah.
What was your go-to on that whole cast when you just needed a bit of grounding because you're so far away from home, you're doing the work, and sometimes maybe you just need a bit of comfort, a bit of grounding?
Yeah, I mean, I think Billy was always such a sweet man, he is, and great friend. And, you know, Billy and Dom and Elijah was working every hour that God sent, so it was harder for him. And Sean was great. And I actually was very lucky in filming that I sat next to Vigo in the makeup chair. So myself, Vigo, Brett, who was John Rhys Davies' double, weren't in the same me, Vigo, and then a couple of other cast members would come in and out, but me and Vigo were in this on this makeup bus. So like Vigo was kind of like a role model to me. in so many ways. I mean, firstly, he's an artist in every sense of the word. He would be painting, writing poetry, and just like living like Aragorn. But as a role model for a young actor, to sort of see his way of being on set, as well as just his performance, but his sort of set etiquette, as it were, was just excellent as an example. And of course, you know, Ian and Chris Lee, and just these amazing actors, and Sean Bean. Sean Bean was with us as well when he was around, and so, and also because we were all life-size and the hobbits were small, so the smaller cast were like together filming more, and we'd have the doubles running around with us with their masks on and stuff, and they were all really great people as well, really hard workers, just like the stunts, and so it was a real family affair, you know?
Sometimes when I'm doing the work, there's been moments in my career where I've sort of had an outer body experience where I've gone, this is really strange, this is a silly, fun, street, or it's just something. And I've gone, ooh, and then kind of come back in. Have you ever had that on any set where you've gone, whoa, this is very cool, or this is the work?
I think like the Council of Elrond was that for me. It was the first time, you know, all of these phenomenal actors and characters in the movie were together. Quite intimidating, and quite like pinch me moment, you know. But yeah, I've been fortunate. I remember I worked with Peter O'Toole on a movie called Troy, and yeah, I mean, some of you might like it. I didn't particularly love playing Paris, but you know, I was kind of hard-armed into it. But I mean, don't get me wrong, but it's a great role and stuff in some ways, but I was like, I've got to grovel at the feet of my brother. I was like, one of my agents was like, that'll be the making of you. I was like, really? Okay. But I remember walking up the steps to the Pentathon or whatever with Peter, and he was like, you know, Peter O'Toole, the legend. He was walking up the steps, and he had a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, and he was puffing, and he was like, and one of the ADs was walking along, and he said, Peter, have you ever thought about quitting smoking? And he goes, no, but I've thought about quitting stairs. Which I thought was genius. So yeah, it was, yeah, there's been a few pinch me moments in my life, but I think on that movie, Council of Elrond was definitely it.
Talk a lot about, so for me going back 25 years, I remember certain music.
Oh yeah.
So
Music.
Radiohead's Kid came out around about then, Travis.
David Gray, Travis.
Yeah, and we've talked, me and the boys have talked, because they love music. I wanted to ask what you were listening to back then. What takes you back to that time?
Ben Harper. David Gray, that White Ladder album came out. I think Coldplay came out right around that.
It did.
And albums of the time, but I was always listening to Radiohead and Jeff Buckley. Jeff Buckley's album Grace was like a seminal album for me growing up.
I still go back to that.
Yeah, I listen to it all the time. I'm introducing my 15-year-old to it now. I'm like, I think music was a big part for all of us, and at that time as well. But yeah, it was, and it still is. But yeah, those are the ones that pop to mind. Oh, Gomez.
Oh, brilliant album.
Yeah,
that live as well.
Oh yeah.
Is there music that gets you, I guess, pumped up in the mood for certain characters to get?
Yeah. I always do a playlist for every character. I did a play called Killer Joe in the West End, and I remember I had speaking of Philadelphia, Bruce Springsteen, I always do a playlist, and I just think of there's that down, 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 down. Who's that? That's the
White Stripes.
White Stripes. There's certain tunes that just have a beat and a rhythm that just kind of like get you into a headspace. So I always listen to music.
Yeah, it's that vibration, the beat is something. And like after Lord of the Rings, you go on, you do other roles. Were there any lessons that, of course, you did so many, like Pirates of the Caribbean? Of course, we've got a few of those fans here. We've not mentioned it yet. But what did you learn for your time, your formative years on the set of Lord of the Rings that you took as an actor?
I think I was really learning film craft, if you like screen craft. Like I trained at drama school, but they don't really train you at drama school for, at least not when I was there, for being in front of the lens. So a lot of my learning was, about, the camera, where, how you work with the camera, whether it's a wide, a medium, a close, and that, obviously you've got to save it for the close, or at least reduce it for the close. So I feel like sometimes I look back over, I haven't really looked back much actually, but like I am aware that I was probably quite big in performance at different times and different things. Paris maybe being one of them. Although I remember Wolfgang Petersen always saying, like, I was always like, at that point I'd kind of realized that you didn't want to overplay your hand, and I was like, I'd be doing something, and I think actually this is a funny story. There was a short like clip of the movie, and I think I say, I'll hunt rabbit, I'll hunt deer, I'll feed us. I say it to like Helena Troy. And my dad and my girlfriend at the time and his mum was watching, and my dad burst out laughing. It was like, wait, what? It was so mortifying because I'll hunt rabbits, but Wolfgang was like, there'll be 1,000 horses coming over the hill. He always wanted like more, give me more, and it was like, okay. Some of that felt a little OTT, but,
Do you prefer big, ridiculous performances, or do you prefer the...
Well, I kind of did all the big, like, historical epics, like I sort of hit the juggernaut of those movies at that time. That was the historical epic time. So, like, Kingdom of Heaven was... Thanks so much. Yeah, that was like my first leading role, which was pretty wild. I was 27 and it was Ridley Scott, and like everything was like a moment. Like there was no quarter, there was nowhere to hide. Everything was a full-on moment. And I remember being like just super like grateful, intimidated, excited, and like all the feelings all at once. But it was, I suppose, I kind of just lived, that was the big part of my career was through those historical epics. So I do love historical films, and not so many are being made now. I did have fun doing Carnival Row. I think I grew up in Canterbury. Thanks. I grew up in Canterbury in Kent, which is like a historical city.
Beautiful.
Like it's a beautiful city. It's like a cathedral city. And I used to walk into like the Cathedral of Canterbury, which is a very historical building and a beautiful building. And I'd always feel this sense of awe, in these spaces, which you can feel at times. And I think probably growing up in like Canterbury and like living in amongst history probably had some influence on me that led to me feeling like comfortable, at least in historical epic stuff.
And now, I wanted to ask where you're at now in your career. You produced and starred in The Cut.
Yeah.
So what makes you sort of...
Nobody's seen The Cut.
Anyone seen The Cut?
No, not a single peep.
Go and watch The Cut. What did you enjoy about working on The Cut?
The Cut, by the way, is a movie that I'm really proud of. It's a boxing movie which I love as a genre, but it's about a guy, and it's called The Cut because fighters make weight, they cut weight. So the fight, it isn't about the fight, it's about the making weight of the fight. It's a very heavy movie, dark movie, about the complexities of being an athlete and what it means to cut weight, and the dark art of doing that, which we really sort of take to the nth degree. But I just sort of, at this time in my career, and I kind of made a decision a few years ago that I wanted to do characters, even if the movies didn't land the way that Lord of the Rings and all the movies that you guys will have seen because they had big releases, I would feel good about doing and I would learn something from. And so The Cut's one of those, Red Right Hand, and you know, Zulu, different movies where I've like just kind of like felt my way into character in a way that didn't have, you know, a trillion people watching, you know, because most of my career was at the beginning of my career where I was still learning my craft, was like Lord of the Rings and Pirates, which was so visible. And I think I was still really learning my craft, and I think I'm still learning my craft. I don't think I've learned, and that's what I still love about, you know, making movies. And I still think, where would I rather be? And I've been in some amazing places and I'm very grateful, but like I'm always like, oh, I'd still rather be on set, you know, like I still love that feeling. And that's one of the great things, you know. I'm still curious about the world, and when you get to play, as an actor, you get to play characters and you get to understand the inside of a headspace of other people, and if you do it right, you know, then you have a lot of fun with it. But yeah, it's I think I sort of was like, well, I'm going to roll the dice on a few things, but I still love it.
It's interesting. I was talking to someone earlier before I interviewed them, and we were just talking off stage. We're both the same age. We're both in our 40s. And I thought it's an interesting place to be in your 40s because you're confident, or you should be confident in your craft or whatever you're doing. Well, he was talking about doing music. I'm doing music, stand-up, whatever. It's a nice place to be, I think. Do you feel that as well, of like looking back and going, I'm confident and I'm still wanting to stretch myself?
Yeah, it is. It's a real blessing, you know. It definitely, I think, as I said, I'm still, I never think I've landed. I always think I'm learning, but I do have a sense of like, well, I've had more experiences behind me that many haven't, and that does give me a certain amount of courage and confidence, because I've been on, you know, huge sets with huge directors and actors, and I've learned from them, and you know, so I'm still, you know, I love to be able to go back onto Broadway or into the West End, or just off Broadway, or you know, off the West End. I don't really mind, but it's also just time, and you know, with kids and life, it's harder to leave people than it used to be. That's the one thing about having kids younger, that you realize, oh, you've got to have it's got to be a really, really good reason to leave.
Value system changes.
A little bit.
A little bit.
You're no longer the most important person in the room.
Yeah, it's just humbling, I guess.
Yeah.
Good. I've got some questions here. We're gonna play a little game. Sorry. Speaking of mid-age, oh my god.
Love that bag, by the way.
Gilbert.
Oh.
And this is a game we like to call Existential Chicken. Don't worry, it's not that existential. It's too early for that. Okay, so please put your hand into Gilbert and choose a question or two. Just go for it.
Take a couple.
Yeah, you can take a couple. You go for it, whatever you want. Or the whole lot.
That's a couple.
Okay.
What's my spirit animal? Wow, that's a good one.
What is your spirit animal?
I've always really related to owls. So I'd say like owls or an eagle, but like I think it's an owl.
What is it about the
owls? I think it's the wisdom that I think comes with an owl that maybe isn't even true, or maybe they can turn their head excessively. I don't know. Owls probably my spirit animal.
All right, next.
Okay, who's my favorite Hobbit? I think Wow, that's a tough one.
I'm interviewing several of them after this. I won't tell them what you said.
I think I arrived with Billy Boyd, and Billy's a sweet soul, and yeah, I just love him. But it's hard to pick now after all these years.
Okay.
Bungee or skydive?
You've done both, I assume.
I have, yeah.
I want to skydive later this year. Can you tell me what it's like before you answer that? Because I am scared, but I want to scare myself.
Are you going to dive on are you learning to dive yourself or with someone?
With somebody.
Oh, yeah. Well, with somebody it's fine. It's kind of like, bungee is really terrifying because you're alone and you just, with somebody you kind of like, in a way you're handing over your life to somebody else, which feels like, okay, well they know what they're doing, so I'll be okay. I learned for a show called Orlando Bloom to the Edge, actually, to wingsuit. Yeah, I don't know if any of you saw that, it's on Peacock, but it was crazy. I did, I don't know why I did this. I think after 2020 was crazy, I'm like, still got anxiety. I was like, after 2020, I was like, what? I wanted to do a show about blue zones or like meet people that were like living long and prospering kind of thing. And nobody was interested in that. Maybe because there was a blue zone show coming. They were like, how about we throw you out of a plane, see how far you can swim underwater and you can climb something. I was like, okay. Also in my wheelhouse. So, but I had this insane experience with Luke Aikens where I learned to skydive very quickly because you only have to do a handful of jumps, a certain amount of jumps, and I learned to skydive. And then I think I'm one of the first people to learn to wingsuit in maybe 28 jumps. You normally have to do 200, but I was working with Luke Aikens, he's the guy who jumped from like the stratosphere into a net. He didn't have a parachute on, so that was pretty wild. But that was absolutely terrifying because things can go wrong really fast.
Oh, dude. But what would you choose then? Bungee or skydive?
I would choose skydiving now that I've done it. It's really fun. Okay. And I still have my license, so I haven't done it in a while, but it's a really good time. When have I been most scared? Well, that brings us probably back to that. I also learned to free dive in that show, which was like swimming down underwater on one breath. And I held my breath for like up to 4 minutes at different times, but like I swam to 102 feet, 37 meters on one breath. But the thing that was terrifying about freediving is you kind of just have this, it's like an emotionally mental battle because you're just like, okay, I'm going to keep swimming down, but how do I know I'm going to have enough breath to come up, right? So that was definitely probably one of the times I've been most scared. I couldn't get my head around that. And even with wingsuiting, where I was really terrified one time because I kind of started to like, if you see the show, I like wobble at a really weird time. And if the thing is, if you pull your chute at the wrong time, you'd have to tear one off and then pull the second one, and you could be in a spit. It's a very scary.
Can I ask before you ask this last question? Is it humbling? Because I've done like mountain biking, I've rock climbed, I've dived.
Oh.
I love doing.
You're a total outdoors girl.
Yeah, I love scaring myself and pushing myself. I think fear is good.
Yeah.
Existential and otherwise.
Yeah.
And it humbles you. I did a lot in Greece. I did all of that in kind of Greece and the Greek islands. I felt very humbled by it. I like feeling small. It puts things into perspective.
Yeah.
Is that how it feels?
That was kind of the idea of the show as well. Like, it wasn't just me having a jolly and a good time, although I did. It was more like, well, I think for a lot of people coming out of that COVID period, it was like just getting outdoors, just kind of getting back to life. Like, what is it that pushes you to your edge? And I think overcoming fear is the thing that really gets in the way of us just, I think, living with a sense of peace. Fear of the unknown, fear of not getting what we want, fear of, losing what we've got. But actually, when you just trust. And I think I learned through that show about confronting fear and trusting the process. Like if you really study something and work through it, you can learn to trust that things will unfold as they should, and trust that your life is going to be that way.
This is the last one. This is the most important
It is, yeah.
question.
Okay.
I think it is. Yes, we'll end on this one because we've run out of time.
Let's see, we got...
Very efficient, or was it? Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, we're very efficient. This is very good. Okay, great. Yeah, we did
great.
that.
So the last
This
question
one.
is...
so important. Okay.
Very important. Pirate fashion or elven fits? I think we should put that over to the audience.
So let's go pirate fashion.
Elven fits? There you go.
What's your personal preference? I think.
Well, funny story about the elven fit. So, it's always very important for an actor to, obviously the costume is a really big part of getting into character. And I remember talking to Fran because my fit on, for Legolas, actually on the, if you've watched the extended footage of Lord of the Rings, there's a scene on the flat with me and Haldir, and I say, Govanan le Haldir Lorien, something. That was like my first elven line, which means greetings Haldir Lorien or something. Anyway, but I was wearing a costume because it was my first day of filming that wasn't the costume that I ended up wearing in the whole movie. We had they hadn't quite landed what they wanted, so we ended up with this kind of quite sort of well-fit, well-cut kind of jacket with the, the boots and all the rest. But at that point, it wasn't what it was supposed to be. So in that movie, if you look carefully in that scene, you'll see me wearing a jacket, but the shoulders aren't connected, and it's like a different thing. But it was kind of in the shade. They sort of shot me a little bit in the shadows, and then I finally got the costume that I wore throughout the rest of the movies.
You look great.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Orlando, this is our second time chatting now, and it's just been so wonderful to sit and chat to you. I feel like I could have a gab with you for the rest of the afternoon.
Same.
Very lovely.
We can talk fear and fearlessness.
Yes. Oh, I love getting deep.
That's great.
Definitely, and I love talking about all of that.
Me too.
Maybe next time.
Me too.
Next time.
All right, guys.
You enjoyed the panel?
Thanks for coming.
Are you here all weekend? Are you here for the rest of the weekend?
No, I'm leaving today. Actually,
you're leaving today, so people can still come and see you?
Yes, yeah, I'm here for the rest of the day, so come say hi. Love that.
Right.
Nice to see you all.